This is a full review of the Volkswagen T-Roc, today with Thomas from Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. Well, this one here, exterior, interior and the driving experience today in our program. And you have asked me some questions. For example, how does it relate to the Golf, the normal compact hatch? How does it relate to the Seat Ateca, a comparable compact SUV? And when you decide between this one, the T-Roc, and the bigger Tiguan, which one should be your choice? We will dig deeper into those questions and also go with full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In the front, the T-Roc makes a very strong impression, therefore also the name, like with this rock. Yeah, let's rock it. Or like a rock, strong as a rock. Well, it's not strong as a rock, but we can see very interesting shapes in the front grille. The headlamps start with halogen and then optional the full LED package. And you can see the LED daytime running lights are always placed in the lower part to give, a very significant shape, and overall it's actually quite daring for a Volkswagen, so they're also stepping up the game here into a little bit less conservative direction. By the way, if you wonder, my voice is a little bit dark today. No, I have not joined the dark side. There is still light in me, just a little sore throat. It's getting better. I hope you can still join the review here. Maybe it's even a little bit better for ASMR. What do you think? But let's continue with the side profile. The length is 4.23 meters or 13.9 feet, and that's approximately the length of a normal compact hatch like a Golf. And 25 centimeters shorter than the Volkswagen Tiguan, the bigger SUV brother. And I'll also talk more about that later, how that differs from driving from a Golf, Ateca and a Tiguan, if that's relevant for you if you're in the market. There are two different styling packages next to the base. You start with a normal base package and then you can go style or sport. And this one here is a sport trim level with some more sporty elements, also in the interior. There you can pick this optional contrasting roof. In the style package, you have to pick it. But here optional then in black. And well, this one is something between silver and white, and it's indeed called white silver. Funny, right? And rim choices start with 16-inch start and up to 19-inch. This one here, good pick with the 18-inch, not the biggest one, so still good in riding comfort. And the color here is called adamantium gray. So yes, that's the one that Wolverine has inside his veins. Pretty cool, right? And also with contrasting red brake calipers. The rest of the styling you can see here, there's a design line above the door handle. And then there's classic Golf style, Golf platform, C shape with a C pillar. So it shows some more daring design, especially with a contrasting color, but overall still a rather classic setup. I think they found a good mix there. And by the way, the contrasting roof can be bought in white, black, brown and red. This one here, obviously the black contrasting roof. And then to the rear, which looks pretty much Tiguan alike, with a modern signature shape here, also with the LED rear lights. And it's an interesting design line just here, which is cutting it right there. You see you're a little bit limited in height there at the very rear of the trunk, if someone is using it in this case, to give some design approach to it. But also here I think they get a good compromise between some of new styling elements and keeping the rather conservative base structure. I can just say we can all agree that those fake exhaust elements, they could just leave it. It would have been also maybe more seamless without it. Sadly no hydraulic struts, but the engine lineup will be either a 2-liter TDI with 115, 150 or 190 horsepower. And then petrol side, turbo petrol, 1 liter with 115 or 1.5 liter with 150 or 2 liter with 190 horsepower. That's the one we have here today, 7.2 seconds, the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And the top engines are always combined then with all-wheel drive and the DSG dual clutch transmission. The mid-trim engines you can pick, and the base engines usually start then with front-wheel drive and manual transmission. Let's take a look at the interior together. Here on the top part of the doors we have hard touch plastic. That is like in the Polo, for example, so that's not really Golf-like. Well, it's good that you have a lot of room for bigger bottles, for example. Then you can see decor element styling-wise, it's rather subtle here in the sport trimline. It's rather with grey inlets, but you can also get, for example, black or more colorful yellow, orange, blue or brown here in those surroundings here. But this one, as I said, the more subtle choice. But the seats are a little bit more extrovertive. So you have base fabric seats, then you have comfort seats, for example, you can get in the style line, and here in the sport line you have little sportier seats. You see they have a little bit more support in the lower and also in the side area. Very well executed, with fabric and red contrasts on the inside and some white leather red part on the outside. So overall, very well done. So let's get inside with a shoe tap, and they have left the manual seats here just because I can say then, let's pump it up, y'all. But when I put it in the lowest position, actually, 1.86 m or 6'1", plenty of headroom. Especially when you don't have any panoramic roof or something, then you have most headroom. I usually pump the seat a little bit up, so a little bit more comfortable to drive in that respect. But I have, reasonable room. It feels really like in a Volkswagen Golf, in a compact hatch. Also, the space you have available, for example. But as you sit a little bit more upright, a little bit higher, it is a little bit more comfortable, especially on long-term run. Thus also maybe a little bit less sportier, but we check out that in the driving review. It's a Golf steering wheel as well. You could also very well control it in and out, and so the reach and height as well. And the seats, as I said, manual control right there also. And then this turning knob here, which I don't always like, because you always have to watch your watches, that you don't damage them here at the B pillar. But overall, it's a positive seating feeling, and I think it's a very modern taste that you have a little bit more room here, a little bit more upright, and also easier to get in and out. Interior overview, you can see you can get optional those digital gauges on the left, and also the biggest GPS screen. Then all is dark and pretty seamlessly integrated. Here again the grey decor element for the sport trim, and here the top part is again hard plastic. That's where they saved some money. You can argue about it. Do you really need it? Who does touch it, in real life while driving or whatever? But then again, you can also see it somehow. Then let's turn on the ignition, and you can see that both of those screens come alive, and I'll soon show you more details of that. You can see CarPlay is also available right there. We can soon show you that as well. This is the main menu. Then first let's continue with the main overview here, the separate climate knob. Still, I like that, just easy control, works pretty fast, and optionally you can also get the seat heating, and this is also in this case combined also with the steering wheel heating. But you have to always, even if you just want the steering wheel heating, press that one and then maybe go off with the rest, but then just activate the steering wheel heating. It's a little bit complicated, but that way you only need one knob. In the lower part then 2 USB slots, but one mounted at the moment, but the lower part is also suitable then, for example, for inductive charging if you have that option. Automatic gear shifter here for the DSG. In the lower part we have a selector for the driving modes if you have then also picked the DCC, the dynamic chassis control. And following further down, cup holders, but they're not adaptive, so and very shallow. I'm not sure if those bottles will hold very well in there. Electric handbrake. And there's this armrest which is fixedly attached, but only very little room in there. Well, those digital gauges also have a full map function here for the GPS. That's nice, but you can also have some different information in there, so you're pretty flexible with those. That is, you know, actually the big advantage of those digital gauges. Also here with this view for speed and RPM, so you can play around with it. It's cool somehow, but you will also be fine with analog gauges. It's not exactly a must-have, I would say. Well, there's still this problem that you can only have the map left in the digital gauges or right here in the center gauges. That's different with the active intro display of the Tiguan, the Golf or the Passat. This one here with less CPU power, but they promise to fix that at a later stage, because you see the rest is very responsive. If you have, you know, the map right there, that looks pretty cool. Also this glass screen makes a good quality impression, by the way. You can still zoom in and out like this, that's also possible. And the main menu does look like this, but you can see already some fingerprints are being collected. And you can either connect your phone via Bluetooth, that's possible, or then also use the CarPlay or the Android Auto, that's also possible. And you know, let's just unlock it, and here we go with that one. So overall, I think it's one of the best infotainment systems because it's very intuitive. And now to the rear. Well, you sit a little bit more upright, but you do not gain any more legroom if you compare it to a normal Volkswagen Golf. So I don't have plenty of legroom here when I'm also sitting as a tall driver in the front. So I need maybe, I mean, it directly works that way, maybe not a long-term one, but if I would then ask a driver to step a little bit more in the front, then it would be okay. But rear legroom is not the specialty of this vehicle. It's also not that long, but you can compare it with most of the other compact hatches. There are some others which are a little bit longer and have some more legroom here. Headroom, by the way, is cool. That works also for tall people. And we have the same nice design with the white leatherette here, also on the outside parts. And the seat itself is pretty soft from the fabric, so the seating area is very comfortable. Let's say 4 times 180 in meters or 4 times 5'9". That's then perfectly fine. That's a cool rhyme. That's another rhyme. Wow. You have to rewind that and play it again. Then we can flip this part here of the seats, the other one as well. I can soon show you later. Top tether behind it. Isofix in the front, and we also have an armrest with 2 cup holders standing right there. The middle seat does exist, by the way, but you can see it's more set up for 4 people overall. It is allowed to sit in the middle, but then also the middle tunnel here for the all-wheel drive is also pretty huge for a small car, so it's not really that comfortable to sit here in the middle part. And there's also a 12-volt power socket for the rear passengers, and you know, with an adapter you can also make it then to 2 USB slots. Now to the trunk area. That's also like in the compact hatch. You see we have this floor bottom. You can also remove that. Here you got some sound system equipment. You can also get a replacement tire if you want so. Square dimensions. It's just in a height a little bit limited, as I shown you in the exterior overview. But you can also flip those seats, as I've shown you earlier, like this. Then you got also the possibility of this ski hatch if you just want to have this middle part here opened. But of course you can also reach over and then put the whole thing down like this, and then you have the maximum loading setup. And our famous children's safety test, like this, is the sensor. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The same one with the Tiguan. The sensor is a little bit too strong. It should be more torque sensitive, but it automatically goes up in those situations. And now to Thomas's driving lounge for today, or driving part in this review. With the Volkswagen T-Roc and the 2-liter TSI, so the 2-liter turbo petrol engine, 4-cylinder. Here in the top horsepower spec, so 140 kilowatts. or 190 horsepower. All-wheel drive is then standard, as well as the automatic transmission, the DSG. It's the dual clutch transmission. By the way, the real abbreviation DSG does not stand for dual clutch transmission, even not in German. It's really called Direktschaltgetriebe, which would be more direct shifting transmission. That would be the direct translation, but we always say dual clutch transmission because it is one. So, one of the key questions was, how does it relate to a Golf? How does it relate to a Seat Ateca? And also to a Volkswagen T-Roc, for example. Is it already driving-wise an SUV, or is it rather a crossover? And I have to say, it's somewhere in between, so it goes more in the direction of a crossover. Because even in the Seat Ateca, I feel I would be sitting a little bit higher, a little bit more SUV-ish in control. This one here comes closer to a Golf, but you feel you sit higher than in a Golf. That's for sure. So it is thus more comfortable than in a Golf, as this upright seating position lets your pelvis stand a little bit more upright, and that one is good for the long-term comfort, you know, that you don't get lower back fatigue in your lumbar area. And at the same time, it doesn't drive that much different than a Golf. A little less sporty because it's also a little bit higher, but it's still, you know, somehow agile, and you feel very much in control and also very much at home. So that is also one advantage if you know other vehicles from the whole Volkswagen group, so also Audi, Seat, Porsche, whatever, and you get this as a primary or new secondary vehicle, you get along very well. So especially for the city, it's really good because you know where the car is ending, even if you wouldn't have the assistance systems. But you know, a mid-spec trim, usually most of the buyers will pick. But it's really easy to handle also when parking in and out. The steering here is very light, so sometimes a little bit too light. What I could, for example, do is go to the individual mode and maybe let also the suspension on a very comfort level or something, but then leave the steering on a little bit harder level, so I have a little bit more feedback then. So the sports mode for the steering wheel, I think it's a little bit better because it doesn't feel that loose then. Of course, that's definitely personal taste. We have the DCC here, the dynamic chassis control. That is the adaptive suspension, 1,000 euros extras. You'll also be fine with the base suspension if you want to save some money. It always depends, you know, how much money do you really want to spend? It's also good to get this vehicle at a very decent price. So a DCC would be something, I would say, whoa, that one is rolling back, but he managed still. So it is nice to have, but it's not necessarily a must-have. Good that the AEB, the autonomous emergency brake, so the city brake, if I, maybe having a heart attack and driving in the city, and so I don't rush into the next vehicle, the car automatically brakes itself. That one is standard. And for me, must-haves is the blind spot monitor. I'll later, I think, able to show you that. Latest on the motorway. We're also going to the motorway soon, as soon as we escape some city traffic. Those guys are seriously rolling back, and they manage their clutch or whatever. Okay. Well, easier for me here today because I have the automatic transmission. I mean, that's of course, for traffic, it's really good. Also the ACC, the adaptive cruise control, or active cruise control, how they call it. So an adaptive cruise control, which keeps the distance to the car in front of you, is equipped in this vehicle here. This one also a very good option to pick. I think also must have. And this one here can also be bought in the highest level and with a traffic jam assist. I've recently we've been testing that as well. So the car automatically accelerates and brakes again at very low speeds, and you just let the car handle that. The only thing I noticed there, when it's automatically decelerating, and then just before it comes to a standstill, the engine made the impression as it would be stalling, like a little bit, little strange noise. And I guess in this case, where we had that sometimes with dual clutch. What the hell? This guy here is throwing out the trash out of his window. Is that middle of nature already? I don't get it. Why can't they just keep the stuff in the car and trash it properly later? Well, some people you can't help anymore, it seems. Well, so let's get back to more positive thoughts and back to some more fun with the review here. We're getting out in the countryside and giving you, some more riding. So here now with the sporty steering wheel, I like to set up a little bit more. The car also behaves well in the corners. It's not as sporty, as I said, as a Golf. You lose some of the agility by that. But it's still fun to drive. It's a very relaxing and calming drive. Although we don't have the highest SUV seating position, which again, I think the Seat Ateca is already a little bit more SUV-ish than this one here. And the Volkswagen Tiguan, you feel that it's a different segment. There you're definitely in this true SUV segment, seating position-wise, more sovereign, definitely. Here you do feel more Golf resemblance. And since they also took some interior parts from the new Polo, you also have somewhat Polo resemblance, and at some points. So it seems to be some kind of mix. This engine, by the way, with the top horsepower spec, it's doing a good job. 7.2 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. So you get a very good acceleration. The all-wheel drive is always front plus rear. So you first have just front-wheel drive, and on demand also torque gets to over this Haldex clutch to the rear wheels. You should check one of AJ's explanation of the Haldex clutch, because AJ is our technology expert, and he has had some very good explanation where, I also for the first time really realized what they're doing there. So to check out AJ's reviews, especially about Haldex clutches. Yeah, most of the time you don't need so much power in the city then. So if you ask me, can I save some money and also get a lower spec engine here? My advice would be for you to pick the 150 horsepower two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, 150 horsepower, but then with a DSG as well. That would be a good price-performance pick, I think. Steering-wise, by the way, again, I like to stay in the sport mode. And the funny thing is that although it's still pretty light, it doesn't feel too unnatural, because they have managed also here to keep this progressive feeling in the steering. So you don't need to steer that much, which makes it easily accessible for everyday driving life, but also sporty at the same time. That's really interesting, and also accounts for the driving fun this car has. It doesn't tilt too much to the sides, so it really has a good handling also with this short wheelbase. Let's put it to the sport mode completely now. Then the gears are turned up higher, later shifting up, earlier shifting down. I should also now get some more feedback more from suspension. Yeah, it's a little bit stiffer now. It's not as stiff as a sports car that you would get an uncomfortable ride. I think they found a good setup here, and it is actually fun to do some slalom with this vehicle. So I think they have good position there, market-wise, where you can say someone who wants to stay close to the Golf segment, also size-wise, but wants a little bit more comfort than the Golf, but still doesn't want to lose so much riding fun. And that's this one here. Because when you drive a Tiguan, for example, if you ask me, you do a 4-hour motorway ride. Would you go with the Tiguan or with the T-Roc? Yes, I would pick the T-Roc. Yeah. That's cool. I would pick I wouldn't pick the T-Roc, but the Tiguan for that purpose, because it's definitely more comfortable, a little bit more relaxed in that one. But then if you ask me for the sole city purpose and parking lot and stuff, and going to your grocery stores, and then this one is more suitable because you don't need to care so much about finding, the proper parking spot, and it's just shorter. So in the city, this one does a very good job. It's also fairly good then in the other respects. Now a little bit acceleration in the corner. Good on the gas. It wasn't even full throttle, so I don't need to hammer full throttle here with the 2-liter engine, because that's the engine that's also placed in the Golf GTI, not at the very same horsepower spec, of course. But it's definitely way more than enough for the vehicle. Also, less horsepower will surely work. So really have fun driving the vehicle, and I think I could already give you a hint where they have exactly positioned it, and also driving-wise, I can understand why it's already pretty popular, because people seek that, In past times, a compact hatch was, especially in Europe, the standard car to go. If you, didn't have like any special purpose for a vehicle, just went for a compact hatch. And nowadays has switched rather to those compact crossovers or compact SUVs. And, some people say, I generally hate SUVs and stuff. But, talking about sustainability, the only thing I can really see, I can not really prove there is maybe pedestrian safety with very big SUVs with the flat front. But this one here also won't make such a difference. Consumption-wise, it also won't make such a big difference to a normal compact hatch. Maybe just a little, but not really, seriously. So let's see, at the moment we have an average consumption of about 8 liters on 100 kilometers, and we score that with the Golf as well. Yes, also with the Golf GTI if you want so, but this one here also, ESG, automatic transmission, always, getting some consumption and also adding weight. And of course the all-wheel drive is also, at least, half a liter. With the Haldex here, it's not as much as it would be with a permanent all-wheel drive, but half a liter more of consumption, something like that for sure. I still think the consumption should be lower. It's not there's a Tiguan right now. So it's not a very, super high figure, but I think it still should be lower. But that's the same, for a lot of other vehicles. But performance-wise, I'm totally happy with it. By the way, I can also go into it in ice mode or snow mode. Then the acceleration is, being tampered with, so you can slowly accelerate and you don't get any slick turns. And off-road mode is also available to give more torque to the rear wheels, and also an off-road mode with turning off the ESC. Again, this car will probably not go off-road so much. AJ and Jonas, in their initial review of the T-Roc here from the driving event, they had also some off-road parts, so you should check that one out. It was pretty amazing pictures they brought there, even when the car lifted a wheel from the ground. Really, really nice. So now we're getting to some motorway. Yeah, in the sport mode you also feel the the shifting difference a little bit more. In the normal mode, just a little bit. So I wasn't in now. Now we cruise a little bit on the motorway. So I also can set the ACC now on the left side of the steering wheel, and then distance to the car in front of me is being kept. And in the front I can also have a map view, then again a little bit more limited than it would be with the other digital cockpits. You can see I can also change the gauges to to this one to see the RPM. Seems to be like the blind spot monitors. I don't know, equipped with this vehicle, or is this was maybe deactivated? Off-road information right there. See about that. But I mean, that's also something about the ACC. The middle screen is always somewhat distracting, and if you do something like this, at least have the ACC set, then you can be a little bit a little bit more distracted at least. Lane assist can also be activated here, for example. Let's see if they No, it doesn't seem like a blind spot monitor. No, that's just, yeah, it's just a turning indicator here. So we don't have that here in this vehicle. 100 kilometers an hour, super silent the vehicle, wow. I think this is also one of the biggest strengths, and this has been carried over from the Volkswagen Golf. The sound insulation is superb, and probably if you think about other SUVs with this length here, this is probably best in class in this respect. So such a silent ride for a relatively small car, and also that we sit a little bit higher in this crossover style has no negative effect on the very good sound insulation. And no, we have a good choice of detailing here. Yes, here and there, as we said in the interior part, maybe the hard plastics, you can argue about that for sure, but everything else has been well executed, together with a very smooth shifting experience, and then with a great noise insulation, easy steering. That makes really a really flawless ride. So really confirming that it is somewhat a Golf SUV, because the Golf is among the best in class if you think about how everything has been executed. And this is only repeated and basically by the T-Roc, and makes it thus also positioned among the now most popular SUVs to come here. So sales figures also already look pretty good, and I mean, I really feel that this is here what a lot of people want at the moment. Not super fancy stuff. The T-Roc does something more, here and there to play around a little bit, also a little bit more joy from the exterior. But on the interior, it's still the rather conservative experience, which again a lot of people appreciate, and where you can control things. Also, still standard climate control here. Not thank you. Not over the top and stuff. So in every respect, again, the T-Roc presents itself as a very, very good car, and you really have to dig deep to find anything to criticize, like with the traffic jam assist, which almost feels like stalling the engine. Yes, consumption could be a little bit lower, that too, but other than that, in all of the different fields we've tested this vehicle here, very, very solid. And now to our conclusion for today with the Volkswagen T-Roc. It will definitely sell very well, because those compact SUVs are the vehicles that are being almost demanded most at the moment. So they are really surging in the segment. And why is that the case? Well, you got a comparable driving feeling as in a normal compact hatch. This one here rather crossover style than a really big true SUV. So there's no big transition when you're coming from a normal compact hatch, but yet you have more comfort. You have this upright seating position. It is more comfortable than in a normal compact hatch, and you're a little bit more versatile to get in and out. Maybe even thinking about transporting someone in the rear, or getting a little bit older and seeking a little bit more comfort, for example, or even for the younger ones, because the T-Roc here also has a quite expressive styling for Volkswagen. So this one here really a vehicle that you would see in all age groups, by the way. And I think that's also a very interesting fact about this vehicle. Interior, yes, we see some parts where they have saved some money. You can argue about that, how important that is. But rest is very well executed. Also the seats, for example, you also have reasonable room in the car, and it drives very well. So super silent, good from the performance, basically giving you all the strengths that also a normal Golf has. The execution and the very smooth and flawless riding comfort. So overall, definitely among best in segment. What do you think? Leave me your comments in our section, and also tune in next time to Autogefühl.